Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining me in this live webinar on how to never get a cold or flu again. That's right. And if anybody could proclaim that they're an expert on this subject, it's myself, because at 62, I can remember being 14, 15 years old, more than 45 years ago, taking herbs to not get the cold and flu, taking herbs to get rid of a flu or a cold, and then giving them to other people. So it was the first thing I ever learned to treat. I would say I'm clearly a master of treating, and avoiding these type of respiratory infections. So today we're going to share with you, and I've gone, at least 15 years without having a cold or flu or runny nose. But I'm going to share with you today home remedies. First, we're going to cover all the home remedies and things that you could do that cost you nothing, just the knowledge of what to do. And of course, you have to do it. You don't want to wait until you have it. We're going to talk about preventing the cold and flu. That's the main subject today, preventing. So that's why these home remedies, habits, lifestyle changes are so important, because that's prevention. Then we're going to talk about some supplementations. I mean, there are some supplements we could take that help, but don't ever think that just taking vitamin D and a little zinc is going to be enough to boost your immunity. Most people who come to me with flu or pneumonia, they were taking vitamin D, they were taking zinc. So it's not a cure-all all by itself, just taking vitamin supplements, particularly synthetic ones, which is what everybody's taking, this cheap D3. And then third, we're going to talk about individual herbs that you could get on your own and that are inexpensive, that you could make your own little immune tea or immune formula. And then we'll introduce the I think I've got about 6 different immune boosting, immune strengthening teas and Ayurvedic formulas, which I will introduce at the end. So let's start with the home remedies. This is really the most important for prevention. And we'll just start with the scarf. Oh, yeah, the scarf is very good because, these are respiratory conditions. That's what we're talking about here. The immune system and the respiratory system. Those are the two systems that we're discussing today. So we want to always keep the throat and the chest warm and layering up, See, we got the extra undershirt under here. Then we've got the warm flannel shirt on. And then when I go outside, I have a vest. And then if it's cold, then I have a jacket on top of the vest. But layering is very important. Don't walk around with just a T-shirt on in your house and then just expect putting on a down jacket when you go out. Stay layered so it's deep, particularly the whole chest. It's not the hands that are important. It's your chest and your throat. But I tell you, a scarf, and if you don't have hair like me, a hat. Keep your head warm. We lose a tremendous amount of heat from our head, particularly if we're thinking a lot. And so put a hat on, wear a scarf. Very, very simple, very, very effective. Now, if you have mucus or congestion, this creates the environment for infection. So just, because you have mucus or congestion doesn't necessarily mean 100% you're going to get an infection, but you're creating the environment. So a few things we need to note during the wintertime we should avoid doing to avoid mucus and respiratory congestion, and that is cold foods, cold drinks. Do not have ice water, iced tea, cold milk out of the fridge during the winter time. Anything cold is going to coagulate and create more mucus, more phlegm, and create respiratory congestion in the nasal passages and make the breeding ground for the infection. How come one person in a group doesn't get sick? Well, the other person does, and they're in the same environment, going to the same place. One has a strong immunity, the other one doesn't. It's as simple as that. And I can tell you, no flu shot is going to make any difference. So many of my patients take flu shot every year and they still get the flu. So, it creates havoc on your immune system. This type of stimulated uh, bacteria that they're putting in you. And not only do the flu shots are ineffective, you need to build your own immune system, not rely on the shot to stimulate your immune system, your T cells from your etc., and build your immunity. You need your body to build up the immunity. And all we're doing is helping the body to build up immunity and protecting it from the elements, which are particularly cold and wet. Those are the qualities that we want to avoid. And the wet is the mucus. So you don't want to have yogurt, particularly at night. People who have too much yogurt create mucus and phlegm. I know people that have yogurt at night and they always catch the flu, and they first have mucus and congestion. So if you're already waking up in the morning with mucus and congestion, you have a perfect environment for the infection to be there, because the pathogens, whether it's bacterial or viral, are in the air. They're there. When you go shopping, everybody's breathing them in. The only difference is some people have a good immune system, some don't. And if you have mucus and congestion, then your body's not able to rid itself of the the pathogen. So you should always be very careful of cold foods and cold drinks. Have everything warm foods, warm soups, not salads in the wintertime, soups in the wintertime, warm foods with onions, garlic, ginger, hot foods, and cook with a lot of onions and garlic. This is also very important. And only serve warm food to the family, not cold salads in the wintertime, not cold dishes, not cold pasta. Everything should be hot and warm, and keeping the respiratory system clean and clear, not having too much dairy, yogurt, and milk. And if you do have it, it should be warm, like warm hot milk with a little cinnamon. And ghee, by the way, does not create respiratory congestion. It's mostly the yogurt. Even if you think there's a lot of benefits in getting the probiotics from yogurt or kefir, you only need a spoon. You don't need like a whole bowl of this stuff. So just take minimum amount. If you want to have a little yogurt, you just put it in your soup, put it in your rice, and have it with some warm food. But don't be eating bowls of yogurt at night with fruit. Fruit and yogurt's a terrible food combining, creates congestion, blockages in the body, and blockages in the respiratory system. And this will create an environment for, a pathogen to stay there, and then your body is not able to get rid of it. So remember, once again, nothing cold, everything warm, including spices. The environment, of course, keeping your neck warm, your head warm, your body warm, your chest warm by layering up. And then nothing cold, nothing wet, like too much humidity, too much foods that help you retain water, like yogurt, and having, cutting back on the dairy pretty much in the winter, and having more warm spice. Okay, what other home remedies? Oh yeah, honey. Honey's a home remedy. We got some local wild honey here. You don't need to order expensive honey from New Zealand at $60 a jar. It's completely ridiculous. You get local honey, local pollen, because that's very helpful to build your immunity to the local pollen. So you get local raw honey. No, not the stuff in the supermarket in the cute little bear. No. with the corn syrup in it. No. And there's a lot of fake honey out there. Apparently, a lot of honey that even says it's real honey is fake honey. So you have to be real careful with honey. You need the raw honey. And another tip is you cannot boil honey. You cannot put honey in a cup and pour boiling water in it. If you want to make a cup of tea, you put the tea in the cup, you pour in the boiling water, you cover it up, you let it sit 15 minutes. And then when it's kind of warm and drinkable, then you add the honey. They don't seem to know that in North America, but in India, they know that, because if you order a tea with honey or ginger lemon honey, this is a common drink in India, And during the winter, everybody's just ordering ginger, lemon, honey tea. So they give you the honey on the side. So they grate the ginger, squeeze in the lemon, and pour in the hot water, cover it up, and give it to you with a little honey on the side, because they know culturally, traditionally, somehow, that you don't pour boiling water in honey. You should never cook honey. Honey, you can't even cook it in cookies or anything like that. It becomes toxic cooked. And once you cook it at a high temperature, you just destroying all of the healthy bacteria that's beneficial. And this, according to Ayurveda, then creates a somewhat toxic, undigestible substance. So don't cook honey, and don't boil it in your tea. Wait until it's warm and then just put in the honey. But honey is very effective building immunity and clearing congestion. So it's really one of the best things you could be taking all winter long in your tea, or even just do the ginger lemon honey tea. That's a great home remedy. You could have that every day for the whole family. What else we got for home remedies? I mean, prevention. The scarf is just fantastic to avoid cold. Scarf and a hat, staying warm, and never going outside with your hair wet. So many people, they don't dry their hair completely, and they go outside and they say, oh yeah, that's why I got the cold. That's why I got the flu, is because I didn't dry my hair completely. Now, of course, in my case, it doesn't take long to dry so little hair. I know the ladies, it's more work, but you don't ever want to go out with a wet head, wet hair, even slightly damp. As many people know, this results in lowered immunity, lower body temperature, cools the body down too much, drops the immune system, and even can create respiratory congestion. So our next subject will be supplements, nutritional supplements. Now, it's important to understand herbs are not supplements. Herbal treatments are treatments. It's natural medicine. Supplements are vitamins. You're supplementing your diet. So that's why most supplements, you should be taking them with food. They're complementing, adding to the food. We know a lot of our food is nutritionally deficient, because of our agricultural process, or we're not eating always good homemade farm-grown food every day. So we have to take some extra vitamins and supplements to supplement our diet. Herbs are not supplements, even though herbs have a lot of vitamins and minerals in it. And one of their powers, of course, is they have their actions of stimulating the immune system in this case. But many of them they found have certain vitamins like zinc and things, but they didn't know about these in the past. But, since we live in this society where we need some supplements, the three that you really want is vitamin D. But don't get this cheap D3 that's sublingual. Really, I prefer for most people just getting the cod liver oil. Cod liver oil is a natural source of D3. This is what I gave my kids. And, the good thing about cod liver oil is it's got the 3 fat-soluble vitamins, vitamin A, D, and E. A, of course, is not just for the eyes, but that's what we always think of. And E, of course, good for the skin and healing. And vitamin D, good for the immunity. But one of these capsules, for a child, maybe 2 for an adult every single day. You could do it in liquid form, but, as cod liver tastes terrible. So capsules makes it a little easier. But don't buy the cheap D3. There are plant-based D3s, like this company here has a plant-based D3. There are a few companies, Garden of Life, New Chapter, and this Nutrella, that all make food-based supplements. I know I've spoken on this many times about the adverse side effects of synthetic vitamins that are chemicals. People are taking these chemicals thinking their foods are natural, and they're made by industrial chemicals. Even this magnesium citrate, this D3, there was D2. D2 didn't work. I think it was a little carcinogenic and didn't work, so they made D3. D4s already exist, and D1 was what they used in the 50s, and they added to milk, and they found out it had an absorption problem, wasn't really helping people grow their bones. So you got to remember, D3 is a chemical. Same chemical they put in rat poisoning, by the way. So I'm not going to touch these chemicals. You just nowadays you can just go buy food-based supplements, and then you could be taking a multi as well. Now in Ayurveda, there's one formula that's kind of gotten famous for building immunity, and it's called Chawan Prash. Big word, Chawan. Chawan is the guy's name, and Prash means jam. Chawan was an old man in his 70s or something, and he made this formula, gave it to all the people in the village. They all felt stronger, lived longer, and didn't get the cold. So I think 700 years later, we're still having his formula, Chawan's Prash. See, that's how it got the name, Chawan Prash. His name was Chawan. Very good. The herbs are in honey and ghee. Great for kids. So this is my jar here. So you just take 1 spoon a day, and very effective, and very healthy. So, the home remedies: bundle up, keep the throat warm, keep the head warm, layer up, drop the dairy, takes your vitamin D. Oh, and zinc. I forgot zinc. That's the third one. Zinc. Here's the zinc. This is a doctor who's my patient who sends me zinc. So it's not my favorite brand, but he's a really great guy, and it is a good product. He adds that extra copper because if you take a lot of zinc, you need a little extra copper. So it's a well-formulated formula, and he gives them to me, so I have a lot. But zinc, vitamin D, these are the main ones that you want to be taking all winter long. Like I said, I prefer the cod liver oil, but I will take both. It depends what I have in stock. But you definitely want to up the vitamin D unless you're getting a lot of sunshine. But if you're not getting much sunshine, then definitely you could start even before the winter. Okay, so next is herbs. Now, there's many simple herbs that you could take to improve your immune health. You can see here, we're going to talk about a few. Let me show you. There we go. Now, when you go to Herban teas, here I'm actually drinking an immune tea right now in the Herban tea cup. And you can see we have a whole section here on Herban teas for infections, cold, also fungal, and some autoimmune products are here too. And there they are. See, there's a lot. People say, what do I take? These are for mold down here. This is for respiratory infection. These two here, respiratory infection with mucus, respiratory infection without mucus. That's what I was treating COVID for, pneumonia with, and serious flu cases. So once you have the serious respiratory infection like pneumonia, then I pick one of those two. But we're really going to focus today on prevention. So the first product I want to show you is Ayurveda immune tea. I'll show you a Western one too. This is the one I'm drinking right now. And if you look at the ingredients, we can see that the main ingredient is Tulsi. And there's 5 different types of Tulsi. You can just go buy Tulsi, but there's 5 types of Tulsi. We have 3 of them: Rama Tulsi, Vanu Tulsi, and Krishna Tulsi. There's actually 2 more, but so the 3 together is really working nice. And this is what Indians traditionally take. Like in the West, we'll take echinacea for immunity, or golden seal. But in India, they have Tulsi for immunity, cold, and respiratory health. And we add some cinnamon. We add some licorice. Licorice is very soothing to the respiratory system. Ginger, the warmth, and lemon peel also breaks up mucus, antioxidant, vitamin C from a nutritional point of view. Very, very effective. I had many people who told me that they had 1 cup a day of the immune tea, and it was the first time in their adult life they can remember never catching the cold and flu all winter long, all for the price of a few bags of tea that taste actually quite good. So and the whole family can have that tea. It's very effective. Now that is an Ayurvedic formula, but it tastes good. It tastes good. Um, and you can go on the website. It talks about all the herbs, talks about tulsi, talks about cinnamon, how it stimulates circulation, has some antimicrobial properties, and the ginger and the lemon peel. It talks all about it on the website, how much to take for children, etc. But the next product is a kind of more Western herbal formula here, and it's based on echinacea. See, echinacea, elderberries, hibiscus, backed by ginger and turmeric. Turmeric is, part of the ginger family. So ginger and turmeric go very good together. And then licorice, as I said earlier, very good for the respiratory system and immunity. And in this particular formula, to give it that extra kick and really made it more effective, was the chaga mushroom. So also very good preventing the cold and flu, just using different herbs. I mean, you could be a shaman down in South America. You could be a Native American and just have sage. And, there's all types of different herbs around the world you can take to boost your immunity. The Native Americans, when they had mucus or congestion or flu, they got in the sweat lodge and just burned sage in that heat. And that when you inhale, that's a very good point. Inhaling sage is like a natural disinfectant. And they were doing this thousands of years ago. And they're, excuse me, and they're inhaling the sage. And that's getting right in their lungs, their alveoli, the bronchi, and disinfecting the whole respiratory system, clearing out all the mucus. And you could go into one of these sweat lodges where they're burning sage in there, be all sick as a dog, runny nose, snot, and an hour later you come out, you're completely clear. I've gone to sweat lodges like that. Very, very powerful. So all traditions know how to fight infection and cold, except, of course, sometimes us overeducated people in North America who just still blindly taking flu shots, thinking that this is helping us. And of course, these flu shots all have heavy metals and mercury. Aluminum, etc., that are very harmful for your health. But and when you have all these herbs available to you, and these are all inexpensive herbs, you could just be drinking echinacea tea and probably help build your immunity. Elderberry syrup, of course, is very good for a cough. Hibiscus is, good for boosting the immunity. We know it's high in vitamin C, and there's the ginger turmeric combination for the warmth and the stimulation, and there's licorice, good for soothing the respiratory gland. So both of these are very effective. It's just a matter of your preference, really. Now, Ayurveda also has formulas. We have two formulas for, and the formulas are more powerful, really, than the teas. You really get more bang for your buck for the formulas. Even if you look at the weight by volume, they're heavier because it's dense powders. Like for my animals, I don't give them teas. I just mix some of the formula with their food. So we have two versions here. This is Ayurvedic immune formula for Vata or Kapha because it's kind of warm. It's got some warming herbs in there like Dado Haldi. Haldi means turmeric, and Dado Haldi means like super turmeric, because Ayurveda really doesn't use turmeric for immunity so much. They use it more for its antihistamine qualities. They don't use it for inflammation because they have so much better things. That's a Western idea, to use turmeric for inflammation based on some research. But, Dado Haldi is really the main ingredient because this is really fighting infection. And there's the tulsi. And Guduchi is anti-inflammatory. Amla is the one herb or fruit, amla berry, that's extremely high in vitamin C, so antioxidants. Neem, this is fighting all pathogens. It only has a little neem. There's the licorice again. There's the cinnamon again. Those are more the base of the formula. If you're on your own, you want to be preventive, licorice, cinnamon, ginger, tea, these are all good. Now, this one is a little warming. So for somebody like myself who's pitta and hot, and even somebody who's really sensitive, like my horse, then I use this one. This one is more bitter. It's got Kalmeg, which is the king of bitters, and Amlaki, licorice, and Guduchi, but it doesn't have the Dado Haldi, which is a little heating. This one's a little bit more mild, increases immunity, prevents infections, fight minor infections. This is the one I give my animals mostly. I've given my horse an entire package in 3 days one time to get rid of a very bad infection that he had. I've mixed this in with cat food, dog food, but this is the one I generally give to animals. It's a little bit more mild. And if a person has heartburn or heat or susceptible to heartburn, then this is a better choice, the Pitta version. Ayurveda is very specific, so there's Pitta versions, and then there's this Vata Kapha version. So, Ayurveda, there can be a Vata version, Kapha version, Pitta version for the same treatment. Western herbalism just is not that sophisticated. They just have a little bit, it's just not as old and as advanced and documented as Ayurveda. It's not as individualized. So you can be more precise with Ayurvedic formulas. And in powder form, even though people don't like the taste, way more effective than the tea. So, a lot of my patients at first, they like the teas because they taste good. And then later on, they realize that the powders are more effective and actually more economical. So do consider that if you're on the website, hermenteas.com, that the formulas are the best. Really, if you came to me as a patient and you said, okay, I want to avoid infection, I would just end up questioning you and picking one of these immune teas and one of these immune formulas, give you both. That's the best. And then that's what I do is I do the both. And that's what I do personally. I'm doing both. I'll do the immune tea 1 cup a day. That's all winter long. I'm having mine right now. And then sometimes I'll get the formula and just put it right in the tea. Or later on, I'll take some of the formula and put it in other products that I'm taking because, I don't go to a doctor for 45 years. So I'm, taking herbs all the time to sleep, to relax, to, bowel movements, digestion, all kinds of things to maintain my health. And then I'll just add a little bit of this immune formula to it. Even if I'm having another tea like sleeping tea, relaxing tea, I'll put just a half a teaspoon of immune formula in it. So the formulas are a little more flexible. You can add them to food for animals. You can put them in your tea. You can mix them with butter and a cat will take it. So they're more flexible and more effective. And then you have 2 different types. So you can choose which one. The Pitta one is the one that's not hot and heating, and the Vata Kapha one has a little bit more heating element to it. It's a little warmer, but they're both effective. Now, you should have a bag of this cold and flu tea, which I probably developed like 45 years ago when I was a kid. These are some of the first herbs I ever worked on. But you can see echinacea, the base, sage, we talked about. Even just sage tea can be quite preventive. I mean, here's where you could just be taking sage, licorice, ginger, cinnamon, and thyme, and mix it all up and have a tea. Oregano, yarrow, which is a very well-known herb for flu. So you could just take yarrow as a base. My base is echinacea backed by sage, Oregon grapefruit, and yarrow. But you could just have yarrow with a little licorice and cinnamon. It uses many different combinations. It's just, this is my formula, and I've adjusted it over the years. Now, we had to add Oregon grape later on because that was added to it. But besides that, the formula hasn't changed probably for 30, 40 years. It's just a real winner. People have come to me and they've had cold or flu for a month and it's dragging on. They drink this tea and it's gone in a few days. It's really impressive. I get a lot of clients from my patients who are giving their friends the cold and flu tea, and they're so impressed on how effective it is. They become my patients and they tell me that, and they never took many herbs, but their sister or their friend gave them this tea. They had it for a few days, and their cold and flu went away. Now, again, I mentioned earlier, if you have a serious infection, more like pneumonia, then you want to get these here, which are much more powerful respiratory infection formula. It means you've already have the infection. And again, we have two versions, one for people with mucus, and then we have another one for people without mucus, which have more of a dry respiratory condition. See, so that's the Vata Pitta, is clearing the pathways. This is for lung infections, usually with a dry cough, not too much mucus, difficulty breathing, and often a sore throat or even a fever. So once you have pneumonia, then this is what you want. And here again, you can get on the website. You can read about this formula. This formula here, Mahashundrashan. This is what's used for viral infections in Ayurveda. It's 54 herbs. It's a very famous formula, and it's combined with a few other herbs, and it tells you how to take it and all about the formula. And very, very effective. So I hope that helps you realize that these cold and flu is very preventable. So you should either make your own immune tonic and or tea and drinking it every day, or pick one of these here, immune tea, Ayurvedic immune tea, Chaga immune tea, or the Ayurveda immune formula. Pick one of these and take every day. And if you have a weak immune system, take two. Take one tea and one formula and do it every single day, plus the supplements, plus the home remedies. And then you can go for years and never catch a cold and flu. And, I'm so busy and have so much to do. I couldn't imagine taking a day off of work. I don't think only time I take a day off of work is to rest. I sure don't want to take a day off of work to be sick. My staff take off more days. I think one of my staff here's 3 years told the other employee he's never missed one day, never had cold, never had flu the entire time she's known me. My son thinks I've never had the flu in my life because he's never seen it. And he thinks he himself has never had a flu or a cold because even he's taking the immunity as a teenager because he sees it's very effective. And who wants to be out with a cold and flu? It's much better to have a nice, strong immunity, not get sick easy, and not to have to be, out of work. How much money is wasted and lost in our life from catching colds and flus and not being able to go to work? And that is a big waste of our lives being sick when it's so easy to prevent. The whole secret is prevention, 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 not waiting around until you have the infection. Another mistake people make is that they have the little sore throat and then they go, I'll see how it is tomorrow. Well, I can tell you how it's going to be tomorrow. If you have even a sore throat at night, it's going to be worse in the morning. You need to get up out of bed, or if it's your child and they complain about a little bit of a sore throat, you need to stop whatever you're doing, get out of bed, go make them the herbs now in the middle of the night and take it at night right away. Don't delay because it's only going to get worse the next day. You can also use humidifiers in the room. To clear mucus, you can put essential oils like eucalyptus and sage and in a diffuser. This can help a room, particularly for a young child, and be preventive. And don't be doing things like cold smoothies in the wintertime. This is a disaster. You need hot teas, warm teas. Very important. I don't want to underemphasize the importance of having only warm foods, no cold foods, no mucus creating foods as well. Very important. It's all prevention, prevention, prevention. And once you go through 1 year, never catch a cold and flu while your other family members are catching them, then you'll be really glad you spent a few bucks buying some herbs because it's well worth it to be healthy. It's just, that's probably the biggest motivation for me to be healthy is I just don't want to waste any time or be out of work. I want to feel good every day. So I'm very motivated As soon as it gets cold, I start wearing scarves and hats and doubling up on the shirts, drinking my immune tea every day, taking some extra cod liver oil, putting honey here and there, putting honey in my oatmeal, putting honey in my tea. That's taking some extra vitamin D, being more diligent with my zinc. You just start doing this as soon as it starts to get a little cold, and you just keep going until it's hot, and then you can relax a little bit, and then you go right through the winter and never catch a cold and flu. Now, if you're catching the cold in the summertime, you really have a low immunity. So keep that in mind. And people who have low immunity, they'll get other infections too. They'll have either toe fungus, they'll have bladder infections, they'll get either tooth infections, abscess. There'll be other little infections going on all over the body when your immunity is low. And don't think some shot is going to reverse your immunity. You need to change your life. Of course, sugar, we didn't even cover that. Things that lower your immunity. Number one, white sugar, not fruit. Fruit is not sugar. I don't know where people get this from, TikTok or something, but fruit is not sugar. You can have fruit. Now, of course, if you're diabetic, you can't have bananas, and you shouldn't be having fruit juices, instead of a meal. There's exceptions. But we're talking, when I say sugar, we're talking candy bars, cookies, soda pop, croissants and all that stuff. This not only is sugar, going to lead to diabetes, because if you start drinking soda pop early in life and you just keep going, it's 100% you're going to have diabetes. You didn't get it from your grandma. You got it from your soda pop. You didn't get it from the genes. You got it from your years of soda pop. You got your years of coffee with sugar. You got it if you're Indian, you got it from your chai tea with 2 teaspoons of sugar in it that you took for 30 years. That's how you get diabetes. But it also lowers your immunity, because sugar is it's a negative. It's a vitamin destroyer, and it lowers your immune response. And of course, the more sugar there is in your blood, the more you're going to get all kinds of infections and skin problems and rashes and urinary tract infections and fungal infections when you have this excess blood sugar, even if it's not high. So you got to keep the children away from sugar. I'm so glad I brought that up, because that's the most common way people wreck their own immunity is having their cookies, their ice cream. Oh my God, you couldn't talk about anything more worse to have to lower your immunity and get sick in the winter is ice cream. It's cold, it's mucus forming. If it's got dairy in it, it's got sugar. I mean, it's just, you do that every night, you're going to get sick. So you don't even want to give this to your children at all. Zero. Give them some hot applesauce with some cinnamon on it, not ice cream. Even if your house is warm, don't be doing it. Okay? So do your honey, not your honey boosting immunity, sugar lowering your immunity. Take your vitamins and get some herbs, for, $15 bag of tea, 2-3 bags of tea, get you right through the whole winter and not even catch a cold or a flu. Much easier. Once my patients have done it one winter, they're so impressed, because they just remember always catching a couple colds and flus every year. I ask my patients, how many colds do you get each winter? And most people say a couple. And then once you take this advice that I gave you today, you will get zero, none. And of course, a lot of women are my patients, and they listen better than my gender, and they do these things. And then meanwhile, they're healthy, and their husband, who they're living with, same environment, it's almost a similar food. He's sick, getting a cold, and my gender's a little more stubborn. So after a couple seasons, they go, okay, give me some of this tea too. I've seen it a lot where the wife now is not getting sick. The kids don't want to take the tea. The husband, he don't care. They all get sick. And then after a few years, they cave in because they're wasting their lives in bed. Well, the person who has good immunity feels great and is going about their life. And, you have to take responsibility for your own health. And in this case, you have to take responsibility for your own immunity. You want good immunity. You don't want to have low immunity. A lot of people have low immunity, and they don't think about it like a disease. They just think getting colds and flus is a normal thing. No, it's a weakness. And, maybe bad habits. All right. Hope that inspired you. I hope all of you change your habits a little bit. And no cold foods, no wet mucus forming foods. Take your supplements, food-based supplements, not these cheap synthetic supplements. And take a herbal tea every day and have something like my cold and flu tea on standby. I get a lot of people say, oh, overnight your cold and flu tea. Well, even with overnight it, one, you're going to pay like $20 to overnight it. And still you got to wait a day. It's better just to have the cold and flu tea in your house all winter long. I mean, I sometimes just drink the cold and flu tea instead of the immune tea because I have the bag sitting there. I don't have the cold and flu, but I like the flavor and it's still boosting your immunity. But it is more powerful than the immune tea. The immune teas are more prevention, and the cold and flu tea and the respiratory infection formulas are more for when you have the infection. So you really need the both. You need something to be preventive, and then you need something to actually address the infection fast, like the same day. Don't call me in the morning and ask me to overnight a bag of tea. Sometimes it's better just go on Amazon and start buying things to build your immunity. A lot of products. There's mouth sprays. There's cough syrups. There's ear drops for ear infections. I mean, all this is available in a health food store. There's really no reason anybody who has the financial means to ever catch the cold and flu. It's not necessary in our modern time. If you become a little preventive, a little common sense, buy some supplements, buy a few teas. That's it. It's easy. Okay. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I hope I've educated you, and I hope you become more healthy, more happy. And this winter, I hope you never catch the cold or flu. God bless you all. Thank you.